We were founded 75 years ago to ensure that Christian broadcasters could get their message on the air. And there was, there were challenges 75 years ago, and in fact, it's quite interesting that 75 years ago, some of the initial challenges came from the corporate environment rather than the government immediately. We've had a lot of battles with the government over the years as well, but to make sure our First Amendment rights are enforced. But actually, it was an issue where there were corporate platforms that weren't allowing evangelicals to get on the air, and so that's why NRB was formed in the 1940s, and we still have those issues today.
Absolutely. And when we look at the different forms of communication that are out there and some of the different challenges in these various areas, obviously there's radio and television and some of the challenges that we have traditionally faced, and obviously there is an element of, for instance, network of radio stations. We have to file for licenses with the federal government. We are licensed by the FCC. We comply with various regulations, and so therefore that's very important.
Yep.
And of course, when you also look at the internet and what has occurred there, and there's some that would say the internet's kind of the wild, wild west. There's a lot of content out there. We all know that. There are places you really want to stay away from, and you've got the whole debate about whether or not the government should actually step in and regulate the internet. And of course, when you start to consider that leads to a lot of different questions. But there is a concern in the realm of the internet, and NRB has stepped up. Last year at this convention in Nashville, the announcement of Internet Freedom Watch actually was made. It had been established a few months before in response to internet companies that were censoring content from Christian and conservative speakers and writers, those that would post content consistent, and I'll keep it in the Christian realm, consistent with a Christian worldview perspective. You had people that are our fellow ministry leaders and other Christians who were finding their content was being restricted in some way, and there was a host of material that NRB had released, a lot of examples of this occurring.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely. I think you hit on some great points right there. First, your concern about whenever the government says, I'm from the government, I'm here to help you should also always be a little bit nervous. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Reagan.
But and we at NRB, we actually we've been very vocal against there being increased government regulation on the internet. Internationally, this is an issue to be watching internationally at the UN and elsewhere, and also and domestically, there's been a big fight over something called net neutrality, and we've been fighting against increased government regulation there. But you're also right, and we've made this case for some time now, that there is a concern with Silicon Valley companies, companies like Facebook, like Google, like Twitter, other titans of the tech industry like that, who have been, they have not treated Christian and conservative content fairly in numerous instances. And this is something that is, it's a growing problem. It's a problem we launched Internet Freedom Watch last year, at the end of 2017 actually, to draw more attention to on Capitol Hill and around the country really. You're right, these are private companies, and that's something we're very sensitive to at NRB. But we also need to get them to do the right thing.